starting to settle into your standing foundation, starting to find a place where you feel really stable, allowing you to either soften your gaze or close your eyes. And as you do that, really allowing your awareness to settle down to the soles of your feet. Really feeling into the connection between your right foot and your surface, your left foot and your surface. Allowing yourself to really feel the connection at your toes. And then your heels. The outer edge of your feet. And then either the inner edge of your feet or the space between the inner edge of your feet and your mat. And then imagine really firmly pressing all surfaces of both feet down into your mat. Imagine that you could grow longer as you do. So those feet are actively pressing down as the crown of the head reaches up and away. Take a moment to notice what's happening in your shoulders. And if there's any tension or holding or the shoulders are up near the ears, just invite those shoulders to relax a little more. And then bringing awareness to low belly and just starting to observe the breath here. So without changing anything just yet, just sitting with the sensation of your in-breath, your out-breath. Maybe noticing the speed or depth or movement. And just pausing in quiet here for a few more cycles as you just sit with the sensation of in-breath and out-breath. And then bringing a count to your next inhale. A count to your exhale. Notice if they were matched or one was longer. And then with your next inhale, see if you could slow it down, maybe by just a second or two. And then see if you could create an exhale that's a little longer. Slow, deep inhale, even slower, full exhale. And sitting with this sensation for a moment. And then gently letting go of any sort of breath control, just settling back to whatever feels like natural breathing rhythm for you this morning. And then fluttering your eyes open. And from our mountain pose, we'll just rotate the palms out so they're facing out toward the side of the room, as far as they'll comfortably go without any discomfort in the shoulder. And then sweeping those hands up overhead, let the palms face one another. Find a little bit of a back bend and gaze up through the hands. And then at the top, we'll turn those palms out again. So palms facing out toward the side of our room. And then as you come back to neutral spine, sweep those arms down so they're now facing the sides of the thighs. Rotate the palms out at the bottom. Inhale up, back bend. Rotate the palms out at the top. Exhale, arms down. And finding the rhythm of your breath. Flowing a few times here or closing the eyes as you flow. And moving through one more each direction, and then we'll meet with the hands down outside the thighs, palms facing inward. And then leave your left hand there, turn just your right palm out toward the side of the room. Inhale that arm up high, no back bend here, just neutral spine. Exhale. And then with your next inhale, reach, find a little more length in those right fingers, and then exhale, side bend, reaching left fingers for the floor. Inhale, neutral, right hand high. Exhale, side bend, laterally flex. Flowing here, or maybe with eyes closed. And flowing once more this side, reaching into that side bend. And then as you come back to neutral, we'll rotate that right palm out, bring it down to face the outer part of the thigh. Rotate that left palm out, inhale, reach. Find some length in those fingertips, and then wait for your next exhale, reach into that side bend. Flowing once more this side. This time we're gonna leave this left hand up overhead. Coming back to that neutral spine, and then we're gonna bring that right hand palm face up, and then we're gonna sweep that hand up to meet. So we've got palms facing one another, about a shoulder distance between the palms. Settle those arms down into shoulder sockets, and then moving into a twisting flow as we lower the arms. So opening the heart to the right, float those arms down so they're just about parallel to the floor. Bringing yourself back through center, hands lift. Twisting left, hands float down. And then if you like, as you come through center, adding that little bit of a back bend as palms face one another, and then into your twist. Being mindful of balance. Maybe see what this flow feels like with eyes closed. Flowing once or twice more, finishing on that left side. And then after your last one, allowing the hands to come to heart center. And we'll interlace the fingers at heart center, and then just flip the palms to press away from you. Find a rounding forward as you let the gaze come down toward your toes. Press with the palms. And then starting to lift the spine back toward neutral, and we'll just bring the hands to the hips for a moment. So hands are just resting as is comfortable. And our feet start in that nice, solid, balanced mountain pose. And then we'll bring our weight over to our left leg. We're gonna slide our right leg out in front of us, mostly straight knee, not locked. And then lift that leg, point the toe, and then make a few ankle circles, one direction. Oh, I'm getting a crack this way. And then we'll switch ankle circles other direction. And then keep the leg out in front of you, knee mostly straight, but let those toes just barely touch back down onto your mat. And then we're gonna start to slide this leg out to the side and then behind us. And we'll just flow in a few of these big arc shapes, sweeping that leg back around to the front and behind. And then next time that leg comes behind you, we'll pause and then lift those toes off the ground and lower them back down, and just lift and lower the leg a few times like that. Let those toes touch back down. Sweep that leg all the way back around to the front. Bend the knee, bring that bent knee in toward the belly. Bring the hands to the knee, give it a little squeeze in. And then release that knee, let that thigh come back to about parallel to the floor, and bring the hands back to the hips. So we're sort of in a standing crane position here. And then take a little bend forward at the hips, press that right leg behind you like you're reaching toward warrior 3. And then lifting through the torso again, bring that leg back around to the front. Leaning forward, press the leg behind. Standing, bringing it around. And pressing it behind you one more time. And then when you bring that knee back around to the front, we'll pause. And then lift your heel in towards your glute a little more, and then either just with the leg or taking your right hand to support the knee, just draw some knee circles in the air with that right knee. Switch directions. And pause. Bring that leg all the way back down to the mat. Pick up left leg, give it a nice little shake, or slide it behind you, connect to the heel, lean forward, find a stretch. And then moving back to mountain pose, hands to hips. Weight comes to the right, slide that left foot out, lift the toe, ankle circles one direction. Switching directions. Letting those toes barely rest on the mat, sweeping that leg out to the side, all the way back behind, and then back around. Sweeping a few times, this big arc shape, front, back. One more arc shape, and then the next time that leg comes behind you, pause, and then lift the toes from the mat and lower, lift and lower. Lower the toes back down, sweep that leg all the way back around to the front. Bend the knee, lift the knee in toward the belly, hands to knee for a moment. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Releasing the leg, thighs about parallel to the floor, hands come to the hips, lean forward, reach that leg behind you. Standing tall, knee comes around to the front. Bringing that leg back to the front. Drawing the heel in a little closer to the glute, either just with the knee or bringing hand to knee, drawing some circles in the air. Switch directions. And pause. Bring that left leg down onto the mat. Pick up the right leg, give it a shake, or slide it back behind you. Connect to the heel, lean forward. And then lifting your way back up so you can slide that right foot forward, and then we'll come to mountain pose Tadasana at the top of our mat. Again, just resting the hands at the hips for a moment. And we're going to come into, or maybe back into, that warrior 1 shape. So right leg's gonna stay connected. We'll lift the left heel, start to slide that left foot back the mat so that when I touch down my heel, point my toes toward the front left corner of my mat, My right knee lands directly over my right ankle. And then I'm gonna check in. I've got a little bit of a stretch in that left calf. Left side of my pelvis is gently drawing forward. Right thigh gently drawing back. Trying to be neutral in my pelvis, long in my spine. When I find that in the lower body, then I'll sweep those arms up overhead, palms facing one another, shoulders settled. And then keeping the fingertips reaching high for a moment, just start to straighten that right knee, go as far as you can without locking it, keeping yourself nice and long and neutral. And then bringing yourself back to that warrior one shape. So bending back into that front knee. And then sweeping the hands around to the low back. We're just gonna rest the hands at the low back, top of the glutes for a moment. And then again, begin to straighten that front knee as far as it will go without locking it. And then start to melt yourself forward over that front leg. Keeping the hands just resting on the low back for now. Lifting yourself back up through that warrior one shape. So we start to lift into the torso, bring that right knee back over the ankle. And then when you get to the top, gently pressing the hands into the low back, little back bend. And then starting to lift back toward neutral, straightening the right leg, folding forward over right leg toward pyramid. Lifting back toward warrior one, right knee bends. At the top, little back bend. Lifting back toward neutral, straightening the front knee, folding forward over the right. Lifting your way back up. So we'll do this a couple more times. Again, move slower or more quickly if it feels better, or close your eyes. And the next time you come down to that pyramid shape, we'll pause. So we're rounded down toward the right knee. Both knees are mostly straight. And then leave your right hand where it is. Reach your left hand down toward your right foot. Bring it across your right ankle to the outer part of your ankle. And then keeping the hips fairly square, start to draw yourself into a little bit of a twist. Looking towards your right side or maybe past your right shoulder. Starting to turn the heart back down toward that leg. Release the right hand. Let both hands just hang down toward your mat. See if you could find a little more softness, a little more rounding forward. Just really letting your whole upper body dangle down toward your right knee. And then from here, ragdolling back towards standing. So starting that slow roll up, upper body is soft, aligning the spine a little bit at a time. When you start to reach the top, bringing that bend back in the right knee. And then eventually bringing the hands back to the hips. And then we'll take a little bit of a lean forward so we can lift that left heel, slide forward to meet the right. So we're back in our mountain pose. Take a big bend into the knees, slide the hands around to the fronts of the thighs, leading from the crown of the head, slow melting over, eventually rounding all the way down to forward fold. And then with an inhale, lifting into your half forward fold. Exhaling, soften. And ragdolling up from here. Soften the upper body, aligning the spine a little bit at a time. When you get to the top, find that nice big shoulder shrug, up, back, down. And find your Tadasana. And we'll bring the hands to the hips. Bring our weight over to our left foot so we can bring that right leg back. First starting in that warrior one shape, making those little alignment checks for yourself. Left knee in line with the ankle, Right heel firmly planted, hips square, pelvis neutral, spine long. And then take a moment to move into pyramid, just in the lower body for a moment, and just notice what it feels like to have both those knees mostly straight. Bending back into that front knee. And we'll slide the hands around to the low back. Pressing straight into that left knee again, rounding forward and down. Starting to bend back into the front knee, lifting the torso. Knee to the top, hands press into the low back, heart opens, gaze lifts. And finding your flow. Back bend, warrior one, pyramid. Moving through one more flow and then making your way down to that forward folded shape over the left leg. Releasing the right hand down, bring it across your left ankle to the outer part of the foot. Using the support of that arm, draw yourself into a gentle twist, maybe gazing out to your left, maybe trying to look past the shoulder. Turning the heart back down toward the mat, release both hands down toward the earth, let the arms dangle, let the upper body be totally soft. See if you could find a little more stretch toward your left knee. And then starting that slow ragdolling up, bringing the spine back to neutral, eventually bringing that bend back into the left knee, finding hands to hips. And then finding a little bit of a lean forward so we can lift that right heel, slide that foot back in Tadasana. Sliding the hands around to the fronts of the thighs, big bend into the knees, slow rolling, rounding over, forward fold. Inhaling through that half fold. This time when we come back to forward fold, we'll pause there. So nice bend in the knees, some softness in the upper body, and then just bring your hands around to your low back, interlace the fingers at the low back. Wait for your next inhale, invite those arms a little further from the spine. Exhale, let them relax back toward the spine. Inhale, lifting the arms. Exhaling, drawing the arms back in. And allowing those arms to drop back in toward the spine. Release the fingertips, bring the arms back around to the front, let the arms be totally soft. See if you could find a little bigger bend in the knees or more rounding in the spine to soften just a little more fully toward the floor. And then starting your slow ragdoll up, finding your big shoulder roll at the top and finding your Tadasana. So this time we'll find an inhale, just sweep both those hands up overhead, moving through your upward hands or upward salute. And we'll exhale, dive over to your forward fold. So bending in the knees, sweeping those arms wide. Option, just dangle here and fold for a breath, or if you like, breathe through an inhale. And then we'll meet in full forward fold, and we're gonna step back just the right leg for a low lunge. So bringing your weight over to your left, slide that right leg all the way back, lower your knee, Untuck your toe, make sure that left knee is right over the ankle, and then as you're ready, stepping hands up to front knee, or bringing them up overhead. And then interlacing the fingers at the base of the skull, drawing those elbows back as you open through the heart, lift the gaze. And then drawing yourself up through neutral and then rounding forward just a little, letting your gaze come toward your knee, reaching your elbows forward. Inhaling, opening the heart. Exhaling, elbows reach forward. And bringing yourself back to neutral, unlacing the fingers, and we're going to bring the right fingertips up toward the ceiling and the left fingertips down outside the left hip. And then finding a side bend here. So reaching those left fingertips toward the floor, right hand reaches overhead, and back to neutral, side bend. Lifting back to neutral. Sweep that left hand up to meet the right for a moment. Find a big inhale, lengthening through the fingertips, lengthening through the crown of the head. And then exhale, bring those hands down to frame that left foot. Coming up onto the very tips of the fingers, or you can grab blocks if you have them. Just rocking the hips back toward half split. And then forward again toward low lunge, letting the hips sink back, hips sink forward. And then letting those hips come forward, left knee right over left ankle. We're gonna take that right hand and plant it just inside the left foot, and then keeping the knee in line with the ankle, moving into a little bit of a twisting flow here. So go ahead and sweep that left hand up overhead. And then again, keeping that left inner thigh engaged to keep that knee drawing in towards center. We're gonna make some big circles with this left hand. So I'm gonna start to send it behind me. It's pointing toward the back of my mat, gaze follows my fingers. Then I'm gonna slide it alongside my left foot as my heart turns back toward my mat. And then I'm gonna send it out in front of me, again, gaze following the fingers. And then I'm opening up, twisting to the left, hand and gaze come high, behind me, back alongside the left foot. And flowing once more, and then landing where we started. So those left fingertips reaching, heart open to the left, gazing up past the hand. One more big inhale. Exhale to bring that left hand all the way back down, and then again coming up onto the tips of the fingers, and then moving toward half split or half monkey as a stretch. So first we're going to keep that left sole of the foot firmly planted. We're going to rock the hips back toward the right heel, bringing fingertips or blocks along with us. Going as far as we can go, keeping that left foot flat and spine long. And then waiting for your next exhale, allow yourself to come back a little further, lifting that sole of the left foot, allowing the spine to round, head, neck, shoulders, reach down toward left knee, maybe palms come down onto the mat. And then starting to bring yourself forward toward that low lunge shape again, and then just coming back to a few easy rocks. Forward, backward. Rocking all the way forward, knee over ankle, planting both the hands, Tuck the right toe, lift the knee, slide or scoot that foot all the way forward to meet the left, forward fold. Could be a half fold here for you if you like. And then either find stillness, circle sweep up, or find a little juicy movement as you slow roll up. And finding your Tadasana. And then we get to see if I remember everything that we did on the first side, on our second side. Inhaling, upward hands. And exhaling your way over, forward fold. Finding your half fold or dangling through a breath. Planting both the hands so you can find your support on your right leg, send your left leg back, find your low lunge. And then find that little bit of a back bend as you interlace the fingers at the base of the skull, reaching those elbows back. And then a little bit of a rounding forward as you draw your elbows forward. Flowing once more, finding your way back to neutral spine. And then we'll release the hands, bring that left hand high, right hand down. Flow into your side bends. And lifting back toward neutral. For a moment, we'll sweep that right hand up to meet the left. Find an inhale, find some length. And then we'll bring those hands down to frame that right foot. And for a moment, just rock the hips forward and backward from your low lunge toward your half split shape. And then let the hips come all the way forward, right knee right over the ankle. And we'll plant that left hand and then moving into a twist and bringing that into a flow. So as we start to twist and lift that right hand, just check in that our right knee didn't fall out to the side. And then as you're ready, gaze follows the fingers as you sweep that hand back behind, alongside the body, alongside the right foot, out in front of you, and overhead as you twist. Finding one more circle and then bringing those right fingertips back overhead, gazing past the fingers. And bringing the hand down to frame the front foot. We'll come up onto the very tips of the fingers. Keep that sole of the right foot connected as you rock your hips back. Straighten your knee, fingertips or blocks come with you. Staying long. And then with your next exhale, pulling yourself back a little further, right toes lift back toward the shin, spine rounds, head reaches down toward right knee. And then starting that gentle rocking forward, backward again. So just allowing yourself to sink toward low lunge and then half split. And then this time, rock yourself so you're about halfway between those two shapes. Come up onto the very tips of the fingers and then start to slide that right leg back and we'll move into tabletop. Sinking the hips back toward the heels, find a child's pose. Lifting back up toward tabletop and then moving into our child's pose flow where we bring our hips back toward one heel. So rocking hips over toward one side, we'll pull hips to left heel in a child's pose shape, rock those hips across the heels at the bottom. Hips over right heel, lifting back up toward tabletop. Flow a few times this direction. Find a little pause at the top so you can switch directions. Coming back up to the top, tabletop, pause. We'll slide our hands out a little forward of our shoulder, tuck our toes, lift the tailbone, send your knees back, find your downward facing dog. Take a moment to stretch the calves or pedal the feet or figure eight the hips. And then finding stillness in your downward facing dog. Sending your left leg back for your three-legged dog or tail of the dog. So starting finding a moment with the hips as square as we can, reaching that left heel high, toes pulling back toward the body. And then bend that knee, let the hips open to the left, let the toes fall behind. And then taking that knee that's in the air, starting to draw some big circles. Pause, switch directions. Pause, extend that heel, square the hips. Big inhale, exhale coming forward through your single leg plank. Let that knee draw to same side elbow. Inhale to send it back, three-leg dog. Exhale to come forward, knee nose. Inhale to lift. Exhale to come forward, knee opposite elbow. Inhale to lift. Exhale to down dog. Find a few full breaths in down dog or tabletop or child's pose. If you found your way to child's pose or tabletop, moving back toward down dog. And lifting the second leg back behind us, trying to square the hips, reaching through the heel. Bending the knee, opening the hips to the right. Imagine trying to stack that right hip over the left. Take that knee that's in the air, draw some circles. Switch directions. Pause, extend that heel, square the hips. Next exhale starts your flow. So we'll do our three this side, elbow, nose, opposite elbow. After your last one, finding a few breaths in down dog or tabletop or child pose. This time, if you landed in down dog or child's pose, we'll move toward tabletop. All meaning in table, and if you landed near the very top of your mat, take a little scoot back so you have space to come into half plank. So sliding those hands out a little, let your hips rock forward and down. See that the shoulders align with the wrists and the hips settle right between shoulders and knees. And then we'll lower down to move through cobra. So starting to bring that heart down toward the hands, elbows pointing toward the back of the room as you come toward the floor, letting the belly find the floor, heart drop forward, and then lifting and lowering a few times through cobra. So with the fingertips really nice and light, inhaling, lifting the heart, exhaling, lower. Next time we lower back down, we'll pause, keeping the knees connected, keeping hands under shoulders. Press your way back up through that half plank shape. Lift the hips toward tabletops and the hips all the way to the heels. Hands slide along with you, child's pose. Lifting back up to table. We'll slide the hands out again, bringing the hips forward and down, moving toward that half plank shape. So either coming down the same way that we did, moving just through one cobra, and then eventually meeting back in child's pose. Or if you'd like, tuck your toes, float your knees, lower your hips down between shoulders and heels, hug those elbows in toward low ribs. Let the body rock forward so that as you lower the heart down toward the hands for Chaturanga Dandasana, the shoulders come no lower than the elbows and the elbows are right over the wrists. And then we'll roll forward over the toes, open the heart, lift the gaze, upward facing dog. If we're in up dog, rolling back over the toes, lifting the hips, plank pose, lowering the knees, untucking the toes, lifting the hips through tabletop, hips to heels, child's pose. Lifting back up toward tabletop. So moving once more, your choice, moving through your cobra or your up dog, whichever way feels best, and then eventually all meeting back in child's pose. From your child's pose, lifting back up toward table, and then flowing a few times, withdrawing the hips toward one heel, rolling across at the bottom. Switch directions, make a couple circles the other way. And pause, coming all the way back up to your tabletop. And then sliding your left leg back behind you, we're going to straighten the leg, keep the toes connected. Slide that left leg all the way out to the left side. Flip the toes to face the front of your space. And then start to walk your hands back in toward your body until you can lift up into a high kneel. So moving toward gate pose. Turn that into a little flow. So that left leg is extended, ankle is in line with my pelvis. Got my right hip directly over my right knee. I'm gonna bring my left hand palm face up on my thigh. Sweep my right hand overhead. Big inhale, exhale, slide into a side bend. And starting to lift back up toward neutral. We're gonna reach that right arm out to the side. Start to send the torso over to the right. And then as you bring that right hand down, left arm lifts. Eventually left leg lifts and we bring torso and leg parallel to the floor. Starting to bring that foot back down, left arm out to the side. We bring the torso back over the hips, lift right arm, left hand on the thigh, slide into your side bend. Lifting back toward neutral. And moving into your balance, right fingertips come down, left hand lifts, left leg floats. And back to Parigasana, gate pose. So we'll flow once more here, and then we'll meet back in neutral. So with the torso right over the hips. And then reach your hands down toward the floor in front of your right knee so you can start to bend over. Find your support in your hands, walk yourself back out so wrists are under shoulders. And then take that left leg and scoot it a little closer to the top of your mat. Keep that sole of the foot flat on the floor and then start to send your hips back toward your right heel, finding a stretch. Lifting back up, shoulders over wrists. We'll slide that left leg back behind us. Bring the knee down to meet the right. Come back to that flow through child's pose, side to side if that feels good. Or lift and lower the spine, cat tilts, or side bends, or jump ropes. And then finding stillness in a tabletop. We're gonna bring the right leg back behind us. Bring it all the way out to the side. Start to walk your hands in toward your knees so you can lift yourself up. Bring that hand palm face up on the thigh. Inhale, sweeping the left hand up. Exhale, side bend. Lifting back toward neutral, left hand reaches out to the side. We start to bring that torso to the left. As we bring those fingertips down, right leg lifts, right arm lifts. And then back through your gate pose. Flowing once more this side, making your way back through neutral. So we can reach those hands down toward the floor in front of our knees. Start to bend over, find your support in those hands. Walking yourself back out, shoulders over hands, and then scoot that right foot closer to the top of your space. So you can sink your hips back toward your heel, find a stretch. Starting to lift your way back up, eventually bringing that leg all the way back around. So you're back in your tabletop. Any little movement for the spine that feels good. And then crossing the ankles, sending the hips back toward the heels, walking hands in toward the body. See if maybe you could just roll yourself right over your crossed ankles and come right around into easy pose, or maybe not. And then keeping those legs crossed, bring your palms if they'll reach, or grab soft fists, or grab blocks, or bring soft fists onto either side of the hips. And then just imagine you're gonna try to press those hands or fingers or soft fists down into the floor, and you're gonna try to float your hips. And then relax that, let everything go. And then once again, taking those fingertips or palms or soft fists, pressing down like you're gonna try to lift your hips from the floor. And relax. Just release the arms, give the arms a nice little shake. And then we'll send the legs out in front of us. Take a little scoot forward so we're right about the center of our mat, and then roll down onto our backs. And then coming into a revolved abdomen flow. So find whatever placement feels good for arms. They could be right down alongside the hips, palm face out. They could be a low T. They could be cactus arms or goalpost arms. And we'll float both those legs. So we've got 90 degree at the hip, 90 degree at the knee. And then imagine you have your Pilates ball or your yoga block and you're squeezing it. So the legs are actively drawing in toward one another, but maintaining that space. And then as we flow, we're making sure one knee doesn't go further forward than the other. So big inhale to prepare. Exhale, letting those legs fall to the right as far as they'll go with knees even. Inhale, center. Exhale, left. And then the next time your legs come back to the right, we're gonna forget about what the knees are doing and just let both those legs relax all the way down onto the floor. And then just notice if you found a good stretch, you found something that feels good here. Another option would be to take that left leg, the leg on top, and straighten the knee, reaching through the heel. Another option would be to bring your gaze out toward your left arm. And beginning to bring the gaze up to the ceiling if it's not there already. Bring that left leg back in if it's not there. And then lifting those legs back up. And coming back to your revolved abdomen flow. You keep those knees parallel as we bring the legs side to side. Next time the legs come over to the left, we'll just let them relax fully onto the floor, not worrying about what the knees are doing. And then check in. Did you find a good spot? Would you like to mix it up with the right leg? Or bring your gaze out toward your right arm. Beginning to lift the gaze. Bring the right leg back in, lift the knees. Just windshield wiper one more time each direction. And then draw both bent knees into the belly, finding knees to chest pose. Good little squeeze in with the knees. And then release the legs, let the soles of the feet come back down to the mat, heels pretty close to the glutes, but not so close that we could touch them. And we'll bring the palms face down on the floor on either side of the hips, lifting into bridge. So big inhale to prepare. First part of your exhale, pressing into the hands, pressing into the feet, lengthening tailbone toward heels. Slow, peeling that spine up off the mat. And then keep your spine right where it is. Lift the hands up. Bring the hands all the way around so fingertips are reaching for the ceiling. Bring the hands back behind you so biceps frame the ears. Bring the arms all the way back around. Keep the hips and spine as it is. Bring the hands all the way back down onto your mat. Activate those palms. Slow lower spine back down onto the mat. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, lift the hips, lift the spine, find your bridge. Keeping the lower body as it is, then release those arms. Float the arms up overhead. Floating the arms all the way back around. Palms come back to the mat. Then we slow lower the spine. And flowing one more time like this. First, lifting into your bridge in the lower body. Then releasing those arms, flowing them all the way up overhead. Palms connect to the floor. Then spine relaxes down onto the mat. This time coming into knees to chest pose again. So bringing those bent knees into the belly. Bring the hands to the knees. Give them a little squeeze or find a rocking or some knee circles. And then bring yourself into a happy baby. So knees wide, soles of the feet for the ceiling, hands to hamstrings or outer edges of the feet. And then just gently pull more firmly on one side, rocking that knee close to the floor. Releasing that side, pulling on your other side, rocking that knee close to the floor. Rocking side to side across that low back. And then moving back to stillness in center. Release the legs, bring the soles of the feet back down to the mat, slide the legs long, send the arms overhead. Find that full body stretch, full body expansion. And taking a moment to check in if it feels good, relaxing right into your Shavasana from here or moving through any other posture that you would like to end your practice with. And then settling down into a Shavasana or supported Shavasana or another posture that feels supportive and restful. And as you settle down into your last posture, most challenging pose of our practice, could you really allow yourself a moment of true stillness? Allowing the whole body to be relaxed, the breath to be soft, the mind to rest. Gently bringing yourself back to the present moment, moving the body or deepening the breath. Eventually starting to make your way toward a seated position. And finding your easy seat with gaze soft or eyes closed. Taking that gentle moment just to check in, to notice, setting the intention for anything you might like to carry off of your mat this morning and out into the rest of your day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Namaste.